One more video before I go to sleep. And in this video, what I want to tell you guys is what kind of improvements you can expect. What does improvement look like? What does the trajectory look like? And it actually looks like this when you're getting rid of panic attacks. How quickly can you get rid of it? I need a piece of paper. Hold on. Got it. Found a piece of paper. I have a mess in my office. Random pieces of paper are found on the floor. Now I need a pen. This one happens to not be on the floor. So, improvements. So you will get rid of your panic. Like, let me put it this way. In the first 3 months, we get off to a good start. Boom, boom, boom. You're doing exposure. Boom, boom, boom. Everything's moving beautifully, which it does for most people. 3 months, 4 months, you're going to be like, I kind of have my life back. I have most of my life back. You're gonna say after 2 months, most likely, most people say they are at least 50% better. 3-4 months, we're talking 75% better, and then it starts to slow down. Okay, so improvements actually look like. We can do a graph. I don't know. I think the video will invert the graph, unfortunately. So my apologies. I'm gonna draw it left to right, but it's gonna invert it, I think. So it's gonna look like this. Oh, let me try again. It's gonna look like this. Hold on, I'll show you in a second. There we go. Okay. So it's gonna look like this. Okay. So I think it might be inverting the video when I upload it, so it's gonna be flipped upside down. So just flip it the other way around in your head. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Basically, you're gonna make very fast improvements, right? So this is like frequency and intensity of your panic attacks on this axis, and this is time, right? So you're gonna make massive improvements up front. So we're talking about 2-3 months, massive improvements. At this point, you're gonna be really happy. You're gonna be super happy. You're gonna want to leave me a beautiful review on Google Business or wherever the hell. Was it ZocDoc? No, I don't use ZocDoc anymore. Not really. Google. Yeah, here you're gonna be super stoked. Oh my God, I'm living my life. I'm doing this and that and the other. Then, this is a graph representing total elimination of panic attacks. I'm talking like, when I say total, I mean you don't get panic attacks anymore. Like you not only do you not get panic attacks anymore, you don't even think about it as a present issue. It's not an issue anymore, right? We're talking about that. This is what this graph represents. So we're talking about that point. So you see, it slows down. It goes fast up front and then slows down. Why? But they wanted to keep going this quick. So part of the problem is that up front, I can't squeeze my face in the picture. Up front, you have a lot of opportunity for exposure. So you're exposing a lot left to right. And like I mentioned in one of my other videos, the improvement snowball. So you start off a little bit tough. You're scared. You're terrified of the whole process. But then you start getting some victories. You're getting some W's. You're getting some wins over here. And you're like, oh, I got this. Oh, I got this. You kick its ass. You whoop its ass real nice. And then around somewhere over here, month 3, 4, you start running out of places to beat its ass in. So like, think of like an army invaded your town, right? At first, there's like, what was that quote from a general that was surrounded? I think it was, I don't know if it was a real quote or if it was a joke. Commander, we're surrounded. And the commander responds something like, perfect. This is a target-rich territory, or something like that. I forget, right? At first, it's a target-rich territory. You got panic triggers all over the place, so you're hitting it. Bam, 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 bam. And now, eventually, when you get to around like 3-4 months mark, I say right over here, right? You're entering a point where you kind of have to hunt it down. At this point, the enemy soldiers are hiding behind bushes. Your people, the people of your landia are walking out fine. They're for the most part feeling calm. But you still need soldiers walking around because the enemy is still hiding somewhere on your territory. They're scattered all over the place, right? But you don't know where they're hiding. So we start entering at that point in therapy. I start pushing on you this idea of panic hunting. panic hunting, because it's quite literally you have to hunt it down at this point because it's hiding, and sometimes it can be really tough to identify places where it's at, something that just surprises you. So the total length of time, eyeball on it, because most people are like somewhere around this point, they feel so fine with their whole panic situation, they drop out. They're like, you know what, I think I'm good enough. And, if anything, I'll just call you if I have any issues. But so I don't follow, most of the time, I don't end up following the whole trajectory because people feel comfortable enough to just resume their life normally without therapy. I don't need your help. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. But eyeball it, it's going to take about a year for total elimination. As long as you're still mindful of that, I have to be mindful when I have some triggers. The worst thing you can do on this trajectory, right? You drop out of therapy around here somewhere because you're like, I'm good. I don't get panic. I don't even get panicky anymore. The worst thing you can do at this point is you drop out of therapy. I mean, that's fine. You can drop out of therapy. You can always come back. That's not an issue. As a matter of fact, I encourage people to drop out of therapy around this point because they're not getting panic attacks anymore, which is kind of like meeting on a weekly basis, like, so what are we going to talk about? Right? It's just kind of a waste of time. But the biggest mistake people make is they didn't write down their strategies, the ACT stuff, the willingness, their attitude. They forget it. And then what happens is, like, maybe 9 months later, right? You dropped out of therapy. You haven't had a panic attack in like months now. And then suddenly you encounter a new situation that just revs you in the right way, where you get like one of those freak out moments, right? Just washes over you, this fear, this panic. You just stumbled upon a trigger that was just sneaky. The enemy soldier somewhere sneaking behind the bushes, and you forgot how to fight, right? You haven't fought a war in so long. You forgot how to fight. And so then it can be kind of like, oh, crap, what was I supposed to do? That's why I always recommend write down the strategies that work for you. Because this time will come. I'm prepping you for that time. I guarantee you it will come. The last thing you want to do is retreat. Retreat and not go back, and because you might get your butt whooped by the guy jumping out of the bushes, by the sudden panic. The last thing you want to do is not come back to those bushes and whoop its ass. So you want to be able to go back, recoup, go over the strategies. Okay, man, this is what I was doing. This is what I was doing. This one was working great. This strategy was working great. Great. Okay, I'm going back to the bushes and go back. So I'll give you an example of that. So I'll give you an example from my personal life. So my panic disorder, I think I told you in the other video, I was hustling too hard, and I developed a panic disorder. Lasted 3 years, the whole thing. Eventually, I stumbled upon the solution. It's like a version of what I teach here, the ACT. It's like a version, but it's like a rough, crude version. It's a surrender, total surrender to the panic. Like, go ahead, whoop my ass, kill me, and then boom, suddenly interrupted the whole panic attack. Anyway, so once I stumbled upon that, I started using it everywhere, all over the place, anywhere I could go. I had no more panic. Months went by, maybe a year, and I went to Coney Island. And they have those amusement rides there, right? So I don't know if you watched the previous videos. There are 3 types of primary preoccupations people typically have during a state of panic. One is cardiac. I'm gonna have a heart attack. I'm gonna have a stroke. Something's wrong with my heart. Other one's respiratory. Something's wrong with my breathing. I can't get enough air. I'm gonna suffocate. And the last one is derealize. I'm losing my mind. I'm going insane. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna lose control of my body, almost like possession, and do something stupid, right? Those are very classic fears. Mine was cardiac. My primary one was cardiac. Most people end up, at first they start out with just one, right? When you first develop panic disorder, it's usually just one. And then over the course of a year, this goes unaddressed, if you don't get treatment for this, you end up experiencing at least one more, usually a mixture of all 3. So anyways, my primary one was cardiac. All the way through, I had experienced the other respiratory and derealized, but they weren't the biggest hitters, right? My biggest hitter was cardiac. So I got on this amusement ride, thinking I'm totally chill, and suddenly, when right before the ride's about to start, it was one of those roller coasters. I'm like, what's going on here? I start freaking out. I'm like, oh my God. And this thought entered my mind, what if I pass out and embarrass myself? I might have been on a date. I think that's what made it so much worse. I might have been on a date and I had this thought, What if I pass out my day? I'm going to be embarrassed. Oh my God. Start freaking out. That was it. That was that moment for me. I realized, okay, I got to go back on that ride. I got to kick its ass. I forgot how to deal with this whole experience. I forgot that surrender attitude or the willingness attitude for you. It's better framing. Surrender sounds like, oh, which is fine. You know, whatever gets the job done, really. But ultimately, willingness is a more positive spin. So I don't really suggest surrender as much as I do willingness. So yes, I forgot it. I had to kind of like recoup, like, well, how did I deal with this? Okay, I gotta make a plan to go back on this ride until I whoop its ass, and I did. And eventually, I whooped its ass. So that's what a full trajectory will look like. I hope this kind of clarifies for you. I don't want to mislead you, but what I'm telling you is absolutely what I see in my practice. Rapid improvements up front, and then the tail end is a pain in the butt, but you usually drop out of the treatment somewhere around here. Because you don't need me no more. You don't need me no more. You just need a notebook, write down everything that we did, that worked for you, all the main strategies. I'm gonna hit you with 1,000 different strategies. You're gonna pick the ones that resonate with you the most, and you're gonna write down the ones that resonate with you the most, and continue to work on your own if you ever need it, and you probably will at least once or a handful of times after dropout. You encounter some situations. So that's what it looks like. Hope that was helpful. And again, I have had only a handful. I can think of one individual, like clearly, like I can actually picture, I feel like there was more than one, but I can clearly picture one individual who came back to me because the problem resurfaced. But we also had a different relationship. It also wasn't just like exclusively focused on panic. It was also just like kind of like life stuff, So I think there was a mixture of reasons why this individual came back to me. But I think there was maybe one or two more cases where people actually came back because they kind of forgot or didn't write stuff down or just hit a new snag. But anyways, I don't think that's a big deal. If you hit a snag, you come back. What's the big deal? My approach to therapy, to mental health, is like a doctor. You don't go to the doctor if you're not sick. If you're sick, you go to the doctor. If you're not sick, why go to the doctor? Why waste your money? So that's it for this one. Adios. There is one thing I forgot to add. There is a way to avoid this. Remember when I was saying like most people drop out here and then they just kind of go off on their own, and once in a while panic crops up and they have to deal with it until they finally finish the panic hunting protocol. There is a way to mitigate that. Here's the thing, and it's kind of like an EMDR approach, right? The problem is the same problem as it exists in EMDR. It requires commitment to really boring work. You're probably not going to want to do it. You're probably going to be like, but I'm living fine. I haven't had panic in months. Why bother? Blah, 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 blah. It's going to be boring. So there is a way. So if you are actually interested in doing that, there's definitely a way. But you're probably going to find it boring. Very, very boring. If you don't know what EMDR looks like, especially like once your trauma response starts diminishing to like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, that's what it looks like if you've ever done EMDR. If you haven't, if you're curious, leave a comment and I'll describe to you how boring EMDR can get once your trauma is like, down low. Because we don't stop in EMDR. We don't stop even if your trauma response to a stimulus is like 1 out of 10. We don't stop. We stop till it's 0. It's flat 0. There's no response. Absolutely. We could take that route in theory. But so far, nobody has chosen that. So anyways, I just wanted to add that little nugget.